Hey guys, how's it going and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be putting all the teams you see in the bottom of the screen there into this tier list. And after I'm done, you guys can all go to the comments and tell me how wrong I am and how much I'm underrating your favorite team. But before we get into that, I'm going to tell you guys about something pretty cool that's coming up next month. Some of you may be aware that I have a podcast with Rizzo and CJ called The Chalkcast, and every week we put out a bonus episode on Patreon and a live episode on Twitch. And we're actually going to Korea. The Chalkcast are going to Korea next month to record bonus content in person. So I'll scroll past some of the bonus episodes here for you guys to take a look at. You can pause and read the titles if you want to, or you could just use a link in the description to find this. But yeah, we have 40 bonus episodes right now. We're planning to record another 13 to 15 or so in person, because we'd much rather record in person. And yeah, just make content for you guys in that way. So to try and make it a little bit more enticing for you guys to check out the bonus content on Patreon, which I believe is £4.50 to be a baby man. I think it's probably $5 or equivalent US dollars, wherever you are. Same as one Twitch sub to get access to 40 videos and then some when we're in Korea. But yeah, we're actually going to put some goals out there. Right now we have, 529 paid members on the Patreon. If we get at 600, we're going to do another type of tier list. We're going to make a Korean candy tier list. We're going to go buy all the Korean candy we can and tier list it live in Seoul, Korea. 700, we will vlog the entire trip. 800, we're going to do a Korean food tour. 900, we're going to do a drinking stream live on the Chalk YouTube channel, because YouTube actually, Twitch, got banned in Korea, funnily enough, after we planned this. And if we hit 1,000, which is very ambitious, we'll do a Chalk merch drop. So yeah, definitely check that out. Top link in the description if you want some access to bonus podcast content. And remember that for the rest of you, the regular Chalkcast content is totally free. You can listen to it on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, etc., etc. So definitely check it out. But okay, let's get into the tier list for today. We are starting with, I'm just doing it in alphabetical order. So we're starting with Team BDS, and I'm going to put BDS in A tier. Now, I saw a lot of people say putting BDS in S tier, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put BDS in A tier, because I do think there is a difference between my, well, I don't want to spoil too much, but my S tier team, it should be pretty obvious, and everyone else. So I'm going to put them in A. I'm going to rattle through a few of these, so we've got something to compare here. Now, Bravado Gaming, this is the logo for Bravado Gaming. I'll show you guys, I'll tell you guys about the teams as we go here. Bravado Gaming are currently third equal in the Middle East, North Africa. That's Vampires, Nader, and Venom on this roster, and I'm gonna put them into D tier. Now, I think this team could be a C tier team. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm gonna put them into E tier, actually, because I just haven't seen enough. I meant to say I'm putting them in E. They could be a D tier team. But yeah, they very well could be D, but I need to see more from them before I can put them into D. Because it's just too exclusive. I think I'm going to use my E tier as kind of like the rest category, and it's going to be pretty stacked, because I don't think I've got enough tiers here. I didn't want to do too many tiers, but yeah, I think I've just got to put them, maybe, yeah, they could be D, but I'm going to put them in E for now. They've had some good results. To be third in MENA is always very impressive. But yeah, the top two in MENA are just miles ahead, so I'm not going to put them up. Bravado Gaming, I need a little bit more, and I'll move them up to D. Of Vampires, Nader, and Venom. They very well could be. I'm going to leave them in E for now. Now, Chiefs in OCE. This is a team who, coming into the season, were definitely in the conversation for making land from OCE, and they are third place. But I've not been too impressed with OCE this split. OCE have been dominated by power. So I'm going to put Chiefs in E as well. I'm going to be pretty brutal with this tier list. Just going to get that out there. This is going to be a very harsh tier list for me. Because I don't think if you throw around, C's and B, if everybody's B and C, then no one is. So yeah, I think these are teams that I think if they were at LAN, if they did manage to sneak in there, I would be surprised if they got more than one win. And that's just the truth of it right now for these teams. It's a very, very stacked Rocket League world. Now, Complexity from South America, CRR, Dorito, and Razebull. I'm going to maybe do something a little bit that might surprise you guys. I'm going to put them in C tier. Again, I think this will start to make a little bit more sense once I fill this out a bit more, but I'm putting them in C tier, and that's because I think, Complexity, they could make top 8, but I don't think they will. And I think that I've got them outside of the top 8 right now in my kind of in my Swiss rankings. I've actually not done a prediction video yet, but depending on bracket, if they get a good bracket in Swiss, they could be top 8, but I don't think they're going to get it. That's kind of what my B tier is. S tier, you can kind of get. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and just skip ahead. It's Karmine Corp. It's the Karmine Corp tier. I'm sorry, it's the Karmine Corp tier. No one else gets to be in the Karmine Corp tier. They are, in my opinion, right now, the top team and no one else is gets to be in the same tier as them. They've swept the strongest regionals, so they get to be in their own tier. A is the closest to Karmine Corp, and then B are teams that I do think have a shot at top 4 depending on bracket, and I expect to make top 8. C is kind of like the teams just outside of that top 8 on LAN. Okay, Dignitas. Dignitas actually had a pretty tough strength of schedule in the last regional. I kind of got them bouncing between D and E. But yeah, if they didn't completely botch Regional 2 in NA, I think I'd have them D tier. I'm going to put them at the top of E for now, because I do think there are just teams who are above them at the moment around the world. Showing a bit more consistency. Dignitas have not been consistent, so I have to put them down here. But I mean, Bravado are also a team who I think if they show a little bit more, they could be in D as well. But for now, I'm putting them in E because I don't think they're the level of my D tier teams. Now, I'm probably going to tilt everyone. I just realized what I've done here because I put this in alphabetical order. Elevate are up next. Now, this is the team who have won the Asia Pacific RLCS this split. LCT, Kevin, and Sphinx. And I'm going to put Elevate in D tier. That's right, I'm putting them above Dignitas and Bravado. And you might think, Johnny, what are you doing? You're out of your mind. You're absolutely out of your mind. How can you put Elevate over Dignitas? But I'll explain it to you. If you care to listen before you judge my ranking, let me just take a second to explain that. Elevate have just taken down Gladiators in order to get that number 1 seed in APAC. Now, Gaming Gladiators is 2/3 of the roster, who finished 2-3 in the wildcard last season. Virtuoso and Realize alongside Kami finished 2-3 in the wildcard last World Championship, the most recent RLCS LAN. They've added Max U for Kami, and I think that's kind of a similar kind of power level. Maybe Kami, I think maybe a slight power level down from them, but not much. And now they've been beaten. So if we're to understand that Elevate are better than a team that went 2-3. Maybe you think the new Gladiators will go 1-3 in World's Wildcard. If this Elevate team is better than them, they have outperformed them over the split, then I think you can safely say that they are a D tier team, a team who could there's a little bit of upset potential there. I'm personally excited for them. I think APAC have actually they've stepped up. We've got the expected team Gladiators. Everybody thought they were going to win, including myself. But Elevate, I'm very excited to see them play. Sphinx looks incredible, and the rest of the team as well. Definitely exciting team. So I'm going to put them in D. I think if you beat a team who have gone 2-3 in Swiss wildcard last season, you've got to acknowledge that. We can't just chuck them all in E. Every single time. But yeah, maybe they're going to show up and Apac's actually just fallen off. Maybe Gladiators fallen off. We'll find out. But for now, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to put them into D. Now, Falcons. I'm going to put Falcons into B tier. I think that, I'm talking about hierarchy of teams here. Karmine Corp are in their own tier. BDS have played Karmine Corp closer than anyone else this split. And, can I put Falcons on the same power level as BDS? I don't think so. I think the top teams in EU towards the end of last season were a level above everybody else, and I'm going to show that in my tier list. I would be surprised if Falcons beat BDS, just like I would be surprised if BDS beat KC, Complexity beat Falcons. The tier list for me has to show power level of teams, and I think at BDS, I do think they beat Falcons, so I think I'm going to put them down here. And Furia as well. Furia, B tier team for me. I think that they are a team I expect to make top 8. They could get top 4 with the right bracket, but BDS are a team I think could go grand final. So they're a level above. But yeah, I do think that these teams, Furia, have outperformed Complexity throughout this split, so I have to put them into B. They do look incredible in their own region, just like Falcons. These teams look incredible. I think they're a lock for, not a lock, but I would expect them to get top 8. But I'd be surprised if I saw either of these teams in the final. We'd really have to see a stacked EU side of the bracket, I think, to have anyone. I am predicting an all EU final if the big 3 from EU are not all on the same side of the bracket, just to get, I'm going to spoil that, put it ahead. So yeah, G2. I'm going to put G2 in B as well. I'll put them ahead of Furia because I do think that overall throughout the split, G2 have looked a little bit more consistent. Furia did get bodied by Complexity in Regional 1, won the second 2. G2 lost the third Regional to Gen G. They lost twice, 2 series to them. But I think overall, these teams for me have looked like the best teams in their regions, and that's why they're going into B tier. I would be surprised if G2 don't make top 8. Just like Falcons and Furia, I think all these teams make top 8. You'd need to get a bracket of death not to. And I think that they've got top 4 potential as well, for sure, which is a third, fourth. And yeah, if you can get any of these teams, if they can avoid teams like BDS and KC until the final, maybe you get BDS KC on the other side of the semis. Yeah, I think so. You could see them in the final, but I think that there's a smaller chance for that, so I'm putting them in B. Gen G as well. This is a stacked B tier, but I do think that this team in the final regional, I would have had them here going into regional 3, but now I'm bumping them up because I do think they showed that they can play at the level we expected them to play at. And played G2 very well in that third regional. So I'm going to put them here. They are lower down. I'm going to try and order these tiers. I think G2 Falcons are the top teams in this tier, and then Furia, Gen G are more towards the bottom. Now, okay, Gladiators from APAC. I'm going to leave them in E. Elevate beat them, so I'm going to put Elevate above Gladiators in this tier list. Maybe I could put them ahead of Chiefs here in the E tier, because Chiefs have struggled in OCE a little bit. OCE struggled overall, but yeah, I do think that Gladiators, had they won, they could be D, but I'm going to put only one APAC into D tier for now until we see on LAN just how all these regions stack up. This is the best I can give APAC for the time being. Gentlemates, another B tier team. Now, they've done this in alphabetical order, so B tier is getting a bit stacked, but it's not going to get that many more teams in it. Gentlemates, the weakest of the EU teams, no question about that, but I do think that they are going to be as strong as any other team outside of Europe at the event. Definitely similar. I mean, you guys think of Gentlemates versus Gen G Furia, G2 Falcons. I think those are close matches. It's only when you go against the other EU teams that I do have a strong pick, like BDS and KC. And I'm going to just go ahead and spoil it, because I need to just put them in here so you guys can see the comparison. Yes, I am putting Vitality in A tier as well. A lot of people are saying Vitality have fallen off, but I don't think they've fallen off that much. They lost to KC a bunch, and they lost to Gentlemates in Game 7 of the first regional to be eliminated from the playoffs in all 3 regionals. So no, I don't think that they've fallen off too much. I think they've clearly fallen behind KC, but I think that's more due to KC leveling up. I expect Vitality to be around about their level. Probably, well, they are. I think they're a better team than they were at Worlds. Compared to their former selves. It's just, yeah, compared to the competition, they're obviously a lot weaker. They look more vulnerable to teams below them, because coming into this split, you could have had Vitality multiple tiers ahead at Worlds. They were the S tier team and no one else was. But now, they've been one-ups by KC, and they look to be a little bit closer to KC than Gentlemates, but maybe I'm going to put them below BDS in power level as well. I'll put Vitality up here. These are the main pretenders to KC's throne. Vitality's LAN experience, and BDS have played KC close a couple times, Game 7 a couple times. So I don't think anyone else, I can put them close to KC just yet, until I see something against EU that would indicate that is the case. KCP. I think I'm going to put KCP in the I'm going to put them in the E tier as well. KCP have actually made LAN. They have made LAN. They've qualified, but like I said, I think OCE, apart from power, have looked a little bit weaker. And this is a team. Sorry, wrong tab. This is a team that did struggle with Gladiators at the World's Wildcard last time we saw OCE versus APAC. So I do think that they are likely around about here, not a level above. So I'm going to put KC down here, second team. They are at LAN, but yeah, I do think that they've got, they're going to struggle. I think they may be a 0-3 team, depending on how strong Elevate really turn out to be. Limitless, I think, SSA, first major, I think they're going to struggle. They just need more time to catch up to the international competition. We've seen APAC's development. They came in as a very, very weak team at the very first international major they played at, and they've been steadily improving. I think Limitless and SSA are just behind on that path. Until they can get some results on LAN like Elevate have, like APAC have, I should say. It was actually the Gladiators roster formerly who played for Elevate. Then I can't put them outside of E just yet. Now, okay, LG are this is probably going to annoy a lot of people, but I'm going to put them in D tier. I think they are above Elevate. I think LG are closer to the top of D tier, and Elevate, once I've stacked this, will be closer to the bottom of it. But I don't think when I look at tier lists, Do I think KC are a tier above these teams? Yes. These teams are a tier above these teams. These teams are a tier above Complexity. I think Complexity are probably a tier above LG. But yeah, LG definitely top end of D. I just don't think that they've got the quality to really be an upset potential, to have upset potential against the big teams. Unlike my C tier. I think C tier will be my teams I don't think are making top 8, but could do it in the right bracket. LG have not been consistent. Or they've been less consistent than other teams in NA against the middle of the pack teams. A lot of losses throughout the split against middle of the pack teams. Yeah, I think they've been consistent, and that's why I am putting them above teams like Dignitas, but below some other teams in my C tier, which will, I think, make more sense once I start to fill out that list. Now, okay, Crew. Crew is an interesting team. I want to show you this roster. Crew are a team coming into the split that we thought were going to do really well. It's AGG, Bems, and Card, 3 players who have made lands last season. But they've really been struggling. They're way down in the SAM rankings, and that's kind of had me moving them down to D and maybe even E. For now, I'm going to leave them in D. Because I think their previous results for these players last season have to count for something. Like their starting point was here. Now they've been underperforming, so I'm going to move them down. But I do still think they're a team that have some class on the roster. And the first regional, they did a lot better. If we'll take very quickly a look at those SAM regionals, because I think it is quite interesting what happened to this team throughout the split. So let me just very quickly open. I'll show you. So first split, they went 3-0 in Swiss. And then they made semis against Complexity and lost. That's fine. The second regional, they went 2-3 in Swiss, losing to NIP, Gamer Legion, and True Neutral. And then they, in the third regional, they went 0-3 in Swiss. So, I mean, it all fell apart. It got worse and worse for this team, losing the Secret, Malados, and Timeless. So, yeah, they're definitely in a bit of a rut right now. That's two regionals in a row. They've failed to make top 8. The last one going 0-3. So, if they were around about I would have expected it to be this after Regional 1, move Complexity down after a couple losses to Fury, and have moved Crew down as well. But yeah, they're on their way down. They're holding on here to D tier. But it may not last for long. If they have one more bad event, they're E for sure regionally. MAT. I think MAT are also a D tier team. They are great in Swiss, pretty terrible in playoffs. But yeah, great in Swiss means you're better than the teams in E, and then you don't beat anyone in the playoffs. So you're going to be a D tier team. MAT for now. Magnifico from EU. I'm going to confuse everybody and put the 2 stars together. Magnifico are a team who just missed out on LAN in Europe. They finished 5th place. Well, I say just missed out. They actually ended up quite a few points behind. But yeah, they are the next, kind of rank in Europe after Gentlemates. You've got your clear tier list here in Europe, KC, then BDS, Vitality, Gentlemates, and then Magnifico. I'm actually going to grab Oxygen here because they're kind of together, Magnifico and Oxygen. And yeah, they're the next teams in Europe, the next best. The teams that were closest to qualifying, but didn't quite make it. Clearly not on the same level as the big 4 in France. Now, Moist are an interesting one. I'm going to put Moist into C tier because the way I'm doing my D and C tier, like I said, is, these are the teams that stand out. They're not, E is the rest, basically. D is teams I don't think have a shot at, actually maybe bad description for MAT, but MAT are an enigma. They don't count. I can't put them beat C. Come on, but yeah, MAT my D tier is a team that are a rank that I don't think have a chance against the big teams. C, I think, have an outside chance. I think these teams have shown that they can compete with the big teams at some point and actually have some upset potential. I just don't think that these teams do. I think they're more consistent against the teams below them, or they should be at least. Crew, come on, I'm looking at you. Step it up. But yeah, the C tier, just a little bit more upset potential, maybe higher peak. And if I was weighing this over the course of the whole split, I'd probably have Moist at D as well. But I'm using a little bit more. I am valuing the third regional a little bit more than the first one. For example, this split. So I think Moist looking pretty good in the third regional. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They failed to make regional 2, but I think they are probably around about here in the power level, closer to Magnifico and Oxygen. And now NIP, number 3 team from SAM. I think they deserve to go into the C tier for that. They are clearly below your Furias, and they are below Complexity. So for that, I'm going to put Complexity at the very top of this tier, and I'm going to put NIP towards the bottom. But yeah, they've separated themselves as the number 3 team from South America, as you can see here. Quite a margin there. They've lost to Furia. 5 of their 7 losses this split were against Furia. That is brutal. So I think, yeah, maybe if they didn't play Fury as much, they may have actually had a chance to make in LAN. At the same time, they did lose on their own terms. They played against, yeah, actually no, they didn't. I thought for a second there that in Regional 3 they played Complexity, but they didn't. They ended up on the other side of the bracket. So yeah, you can't really do too much more. Ninja Pajamas, they beat Complexity and Swiss. Ended up on the Furious side of the bracket and lost. If only they could have ended up here, maybe they could have eliminated Complexity and had a chance. But I think, yeah, NIP probably bottom end to C, third best team in South America for me. NRG struggling at the moment. I'm gonna split them in E. Obviously, I'm not really gonna rank E. I don't think, because I'm just gonna keep the regions together. I'll rank them within the region, but it's really impossible to really rank these E tier teams too much interregionally, because there's just it's unlikely that we'll ever see competition between these two teams or any two of these teams on LAN. It's possible, but yeah, it's definitely it would be surprising. So yeah, I'll put Energy. They're below Dig, but yeah, not necessarily ahead of all these teams. I'm just going to leave teams in E kind of in a mess, not as ranked. I'll try and rank the other tiers though. Just E is, yeah, I don't know how you're supposed to rank this with some of these teams are just not quite enough evidence, not quite enough data on them. OG. I'm going to put OG in C tier. I think OG have, been on an upward trajectory again across the whole split, just like Moist. You'd probably have them in D, but these teams are looking a bit stronger towards the end, so I'll put them up. And yeah, they do think, I think out of all the teams in NA, they look like they got a bit more upset potential against the big teams than teams like LG and Métis in playoffs do. So I'll give them a C tier here. But yeah, bottom end to C, top end to D for Luminosity. They are quite close. I think Luminosity just kind of fit with all these other teams that I don't really expect to have a chance of upsetting too much. Whereas OG, I could see it a little bit more based on the trajectory of the team. Pirates on a Boat, yeah, they're going to go in E tier for me for this as well. Pretty consistent top 8 in NA, but that doesn't really put you in the top 20 or close to it globally at the moment. Power, number 1 team in OCE. Now, do they go in C tier? Do they have upset potential in a bracket against the big teams? I don't think so. I think they're more like a D tier team for me. But yeah, definitely top end of D, I could say. I think Power, you've got to acknowledge that they have swept OCE. They've done the first perfect split ever in OCE, but it is an OCE that looks a little bit weaker than previous seasons. So yeah, I'm going to put them in D. But yeah, definitely a top end D tier team. Unlike, career downward trajectory, Elevate have just popped in, and M80, I mean, honestly, who knows where to rank M80 at this point. Now, R8 Gaming. R8 Gaming is a recently acquired team from the Middle Eastern region. It's Suspect, Basel, and Hatem. And I'm going to put them into E tier next to Bravado from their own region. Yeah, there's not enough evidence on this team yet. We've got Falcons and Rule 1 dominating the region. No one else really seems to be too close to them except maybe Twisted Minds if they can come back to form. Yeah, so I have to put them in E tier alongside the other teams I don't really have too much info on. Redemption. That's an interesting team, Redemption. I think I'm going to put them into D tier. Kind of like M80 for me, Redemption. Look like they could. I mean, the 2 times they made the quarterfinals and playoffs, they got 4-0'd. Now they got 4-0'd against Moist, who were playing very well. I think they got 4-0'd by Oxygen. So yeah, you've got to put them below these teams. But yeah, they are making top 8s. They're one of those teams that can make top 8s in EU. So I think D tier makes sense for them. Think about EU teams. If we highlight them, yeah, they kind of make sense. We've got the very clear hierarchy here of EU teams based on where they are. They, Redemption are the 8th team in EU, so yeah, I think that does make sense. They're tied equal 7th with Moist, but I would put Moist ahead of them. They 4-0'd them last event, so yeah, Redemption quite a bit off the pace right now in EU, but yeah, definitely I'd say ahead of some of these other teams at the moment. Rule 1, I'm going to put Rule 1 into C tier. I'll leave the Complexity top of C tier for now. Rule 1, very clear, number 2 in MENA, behind Falcons and ahead of the rest at the moment. I mean, MENA's been an addition to, alongside SSA has been, MENA 2 has been an addition to majors this year, so it's exciting to have Rule 1 there. I think a lot of people would have been very sad if they weren't there, seeing how clearly the top 2 have separated from themselves from the rest of the pack. But yeah, they, for me, look like one of the top end of C tier teams. I don't think that I've got 8 teams in my SAB. They're the teams I think are probably the top 8 at the moment. And these are the teams most likely to break into that top 8 at LAN for me, if they can get the right bracket, if they can avoid the round 5 Swiss matchup of death. Shopify Rebellion, I'm going to put Shopify Rebellion in E tier. They had a good event 1. Since then, downhill for that team, so I have to put them in E. Not enough evidence of a D tier performance. I don't think that one needs too much explanation, although I think it's a team that underperformed for me alongside Dignitas. I think they could have been better. They couldn't produce the results they needed at the right time. And Space Station, a team that I've had quite a lot of controversy. I made a video like talking about this team a lot and what rank they seem to be at. I've got Space Station in C tier actually. I'm going to put them up here. I do think that they are probably a top 3/4 team in NA for me. A lot of their losses this split came to Gen G and G2, who are obviously ahead them, and they lost once to OG as well. That was it. They've only lost to these two teams and once to OG. They've beaten Luminosity the one time they played them, and they've gone undefeated against everyone else in NA. So I think that kind of consistency shows me that they would be one of the front runners if they were at LAN. I think they'd be one of the front runners to very likely beat all the teams below them and have a shot of making it into that top 8 if they get the right matchup again. Right matchup in the last round, you're in. I mean, even any of these teams in D though, if you can make it into that final round and you've got a good win-loss, you get a good matchup in the final round. It is always possible. But yeah, these teams for me look like a little bit more capable of taking down teams above them, whereas and more consistent against the lower end teams. As well. TSM in NA, I'm going to put them in E tier as well. I've got 5 NAEs here. They are pretty similar in points if I recall. Yeah, we've got Dignitas, TSM, Poab, NRG, Shopify. They are the next teams in line. If you take out your Space Station Matey, who I think are probably a little bit higher rated than their points would suggest. Well, at least Swiss MAT, no question about that. But I do think that TSM are a team who've underperformed as well. I think that they could be better than their rank here. I think these teams for me underperformed. Poab actually very consistently got top 8s, but lack, I think, that kind of they're not quite there yet. I hope to see more from that team. I like that team. Just like I want to see NRG return to form as well. They're very interesting teams, but yeah, I think for the most part they're not LG level, and LG I've got in D tier, so I'm not going to put any of these teams in D either. Dignitas, yes, they beat LG twice when they played them, but they lost to like the likes of Omelette. Like they lost at Poab as well. So yeah, just some losses that have me putting them outside of D for now. Twisted Minds. Now this actually, believe it or not, you're always calling me a Mina fanboy. Johnny overrates Mina. I actually forgot about them when I made my top 20 Twitter post the other day. I ranked my top 20 teams in the world on Twitter, and I forgot, for some reason I totally forgot about Twisted Minds. I think they probably are a top 20 team in the world, and I think that they are most likely I'm going to say D tier right now. I'm not putting them in the same tier as Rule 1. They've been not close to like very clearly established Falcons, then Rule 1, and then everyone else. So I'm going to put them top of D tier, but yeah, I don't think that they can go into C at the moment. I do think teams like even though Twisted Minds beat Moist at Worlds, I think Twisted Minds have kind of started to struggle a little bit more against their own region, with a couple losses against teams I would rank below them throughout this split. And Moist also not super consistent, but I think EU is a harder region, so I'm gonna switch that order for now, because Moist have had some decent results against teams above them. Twisted Minds, despite losing 4-3 to Rule 1 once, haven't actually beaten them, so I'm going to leave them in D tier, tier below Rule 1 for now. Vision, another MENA team that I'm going to put into the E tier. This is a team who like Bravado and R8 were picked up after the most recent event. I can really quickly, I've already showed you guys a Bravado roster. So Vampires, Nader, Venom. We've got Suspect, Basil, Hatem on R8, and then we've got Zizonix, Twiz, and Abdullah on Vision. These are all the clear next best teams in MENA for me. I think Twisted Minds, even though they're tied with Bravado on points, are probably a tier above. And then you've got these 3 teams in MENA as the next up. But I have not seen enough from them. I need more evidence before I can put them into a D tier along the likes of teams like LG, Twisted Minds, Power, and Elevate, who are dominating the region. Yeah, even Crew, who are on the way down but still clinging on for me to a D tier at the moment. And that just leaves me with W7M, and I'm going to put W7M into the D tier as well. So we've got a couple of South American teams in the D tier. W7M are on the rise, Crew are on the way down, but I do think I'm going to hold them on to D tier just for now. But yeah, they're very close to going down a tier based on their current results. And honestly, you can make a case for them being a tier below. Remember, my E tier is not ranked, but yeah, you could make a case for this as well. I think I might be just hanging on to Crew to keep the tier list looking nice and neat. Otherwise, this just looks ugly. So if I've got to pick a team, I mean, Or dig the team it could be. I mean, it's tough. I think if you're picking one team to bump up, it's not Gladiator, there's not KCP, it's not Chiefs, it's not Limitless. I wouldn't say any of these three teams from Mina. One NA team. Who would you guys bump up? I'm making like a last second adjustment here. TSM, nah. Poab, nah. I think it might be Dig, honestly. I think, yeah, Dig. Possibly, but yeah, we can bump up to the bottom of D tier for me. But yeah, LG are obviously better than them against the majority of this split, because yeah, throughout the split, I mean, if you are wanting to have a quick look at it, you can do this on Wikipedia, of course. Yeah, you head over to Major 1, have a look at North American results. Open Qual 1, Dig actually did great. They swept OG, TSM, and Luminosity, three other teams in this tier list. They beat Pirates and a Boat as well, going great, but then it started to fall apart a little bit. Regional 2, they lost to Omelette. That was not an Omelette who did too well in this event. Obviously, they faced a tough run themselves and ended up finishing the split reasonably well. But yeah, they lost to OG and Poab, so that's their head-to-heads, even with those two teams. And then in Q3, did get a bit of a bracket of death. You know, they lost to Gen G, OG, who finished really well, and SSG as well. So, you know, probably, yeah, when you look at it like that, they went even with Poab. They went, I think, yeah, they went 1 and 2 with OG, so they're definitely below OG. But they beat LG twice. I don't know. Yeah, maybe Dingitus are that team to make my tier list less scuffed. And Crew, sorry Crew, you need to be better. This is a team with a lot of we know what these players can do, Card Bems and AJG. They've just not been showing it. They have been outperformed by W7M as that number 4 team in SAM recently. So yeah, I think I like that actually. I think this is probably better than what I was originally planning to do. So to summarize, for EU, we've got Carmine Corp. The next tier for EU is BDS Vitality. Then we got Gentlemates. Then I got 3 EU teams in C tier with Magnifico, Oxygen, and Moist. The next tier down, I've only got Redemption. There's actually no more EU teams in this tier list, but there could be. If we added more EU teams to this tier list, there would be more EU teams probably in D and E for sure. But that's enough for 8 EU teams is plenty. For Mina, we've got the clear hierarchy of Falcons, Rule 1, Twisted Minds, and then the next 3 up. For NA, we've got G2 and Gen G, kind of the big 2 as we expected. I think SSG and OG are the next in line for me, and then you've got LG, M80, and maybe Dignitas bringing up the rear, because yeah, they did get a good event 1. Strength of schedule kind of messed them over in the 3rd event, and yeah, they had one bad event, but so did a lot of teams like Moist, OG, so you can't hold that against them too much, I would say. Yeah, then the next team's up in NA, TSM. I think they finished strong, but I need to see more from them. Poab, consistent. Shellfire Rebellion had a good event, so did NRG. These are teams who all had one good event, and actually Poab had some very, very consistent events, but no really good event. They're kind of just very consistent, but didn't show the same level as teams above them. So that's my NA rankings within this. South America, very clearly Furia, Complexity, NIP bringing up the tail end of this C tier. Complexity are next up. I think they're my number 9, top of C. W7M and Crew. And yeah, OCE, we've got the Power, the top team, and then yeah, the other teams are kind of struggling behind them with Chiefs and KCP. In fact, you know, that's not even the full story. You've got Kakas, Minion, Gremlins, a lot of teams in this rank below. But yeah, Pioneers, if you're wondering why are you ranking Pioneers the same as Chiefs, even though the points look to be quite similar, well, I'll show you very quickly as we finish this video why. In a region where one team is dominating like this, like Power, it really all comes down to who can dodge the Power side of the bracket. It really does. Now, Chiefs did beat Kaka's Minions. That was close. Game 7, really exciting series, actually, to then make it to the final. But, you know, Chiefs and Gremlins are on that side of the bracket with Power, so you're not making it past semis. You're just limited on how many points you can get. Event 2, you've got Power on Ground Zero's side of the bracket. This is the one where Chiefs did play Pioneers, and they actually beat them, and they made it to the final. So, you know, whoever avoids Power's side of the bracket, you can make the final. And in the 3rd event, it was Pioneers again who avoided that Power side of the bracket. Chiefs got the Power side of the bracket and lost it. So, yes, even though you do have a pretty big gap there between KCP and Chiefs, I think it really is that everybody else is kind of closer together. You could put more OCE teams in this E tier alongside these guys in the list. But yeah, Power are the clear number 1. SSA, only one team in here. There they are. And then Elevate, Gladiators for APAC. I think that's all the region. I think that's the full summary for you guys. So yeah, let me know how you think I've done. the more I look at it, the more this makes sense. With Dignitas being my D tier team, I think that their split is it's maybe not as bad as first glance would make you think. With that strength of schedule for their losses in the third event, actually looking pretty good for them. Game 5 with Gen G, losing to OG, who are very, very impressive in this third event, and then losing to SSG, who I think are, you've only lost there to C tier teams and a B tier team, only teams above you, so you can't, for that second event and the first event, I'm going to put Dignitas into the D tier. I'd say 2 decent events and 1 bad one, which beats your NA teams below. But let me know how you think I've done. I'm, like I said, a little bit harsher with this. I do think that a lot of people who've been putting out tier lists are putting way too many teams in S and way too many teams at the top end. I think tier lists, they should kind of go like this in 3v3 right now, because it's been a bit more predictable recently. It's not quite as much of a coin flip as it was back in the day, where it seemed like everybody was even power level with 4 or 5 teams having an equal chance to win. Now I think looking at Vitality last season at the tail end and OKC now, I do think they've separated themselves from the rest of the pack, and EU as a region I think has separated itself from the pack at the end of last season, which has to be shown. But hey, if EU falls off compared to last season, then this is going to look a lot different after the fact. You can guarantee that. As we finish off here, a final reminder, use that top link in the description if you do want access to bonus Chalkcast content. The more of you guys that we do get subscribing as baby men for $5 to access all of those bonus episodes, the more content we're going to make when we're in Korea with the boys. I'm excited about it. We're gonna have a good time, but we're gonna try and make as much content as possible. That's the purpose of being there. We're gonna show that boot camps can be done in the current climate, and all the pro teams who have not been doing so, I'm sure we'll be taking notes. But thanks to all of you for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed that. Leave me your reviews of my tier list, or leave your own in text form in the description, or in the comments I should say. We'll see where you're all at. Looking forward to it. We're not going to need tier list predictions for too much longer. We're just a week and a half away from this LAN. Cannot wait. It's been too long since an RLCS LAN, and then all of these questions will be answered. But that's it for this one, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Have a good rest of your day or night, wherever it is you are, and I'll see you in the next one.